Oh, Canada. Here's just one more proof positive example of how central planning governments is failing you at every level in your social and economic lives. I mean, here we go today. This is a CBC News article under the Canada section. Headline, where's that money going to come from? Insurers, government back away from disaster relief. So the whole pretense of having central planners, right? And that forced wealth redistribution model was under the guise of, oh, don't worry, put that power, put that authority in our hands and we'll take care of all this stuff. No, you don't have to worry about saving for the future or any disaster or any circumstance that's outside of your purview or outside of your control. Don't worry. Give us central planning governments and the fact they took over the insurance industry, let us dominate and control that whole area of your life. And then you don't have to worry about it. Then you can sit back and don't worry, we got your back. And yet, here we are today. Larger and more intense weather events estimated to cost federal government close to $1 billion annually. Well, it's all just mathematical equations, figuring that stuff out and covering people accordingly, right? But really what it comes down to is the bureaucracy costs way more and assumes and accumulates in the hands, in the pockets of these bureaucratic institutions, such a large portion of that pie that, yeah, they don't have much left over to divvy out or to spend on the endeavors that the original concept of these corporations or these government entities come to exist, to come to fruition in the first place. With the federal government looking to play a smaller role in covering the costs of natural disasters and private insurers declaring some homes built in some high-risk areas as uninsurable, the question of who will pay for storm damage is becoming a more pressing issue. In a free market scenario or system, this wouldn't be a problem. If it was in a high-risk area, if you bought a home in a very high-risk area, well, your premiums would deem as such, right? And it would be able to adjust automatically based on each particular company and their bottom line and their mathematical equations, and they would figure it away. And then someone else, if they could do it at a cheaper rate, well, they would look to do so to entice some of their competitors' customers over to their business, right? But like I say, in a monopolized type system that we currently live under, with government mandating and dictating how insurance is done, and they're like, well, we can't do it no more because we're stuck in our own model that we've imposed on the people, and we don't know how to change anything because governments don't know how to do shit in reality. The people that run government are the most inept among us as far as economics is concerned, at the very least. That's, once again, the only area, the only segment of society that could cover this properly is the free market, is competition, is people's willingness and ability to make their business profitable, but at the same time beneficial to their customer base, right? In the U.S., which continues to be pounded by powerful hurricanes and storms, the government will be spending billions on recovery. In Texas alone, the government has estimated the financial toll of the flood caused by Hurricane Harvey could be between $150 billion and $180 billion. But let me just interject right now before I read any further is, we live in Canada. We don't have a whole lot of these, gigantic flood scenarios, right? Or hurricanes, or tornadoes, or a lot of earthquakes. I mean, Canada, we're kind of lucky in this country of Canada because of where we are geographically, on the earth, is it just happens to be a place that very, very minimal natural disasters that are very costly and burdensome to the population. It's very limited in size and scope. And you know this if you're Canadian. You know that we have other than a lot of snow, right, which means a lot more shoveling or the plows work a little harder. But these natural disasters are very rare in Canada. But as you're seeing, politicians and their media counterparts, well, even though this is happening in the U.S., they will always take advantage of, they get those dollar signs in their eye whenever they see this kind of stuff because they're like, hey, we can benefit. We can steal, right, from more and more of the population. Hey, and we can even use this as, oh, look, climate change. Let's use the climate change narrative, this climate change excuse. This is why this stuff's happening. And hey, we have a way to fix it. Now, we can't actually do anything about it, but we can charge the Canadian people, the Canadian population, a lot more money to give them that false sense of security or that pretense that by giving the corporations or government more money, they'll be able to do what? What are they going to do? Huh? Prevent this from happening? Or what? Once again, it's all so political in nature, folks. But anyways, I'm not going to read any more into this article. You already know, as well as I do, where they're trying to go with this. It's about screwing you out of more and more of your money, of your productive income or your productive labor, under some false pretense of security. And, oh, don't worry, we'll take care of you. Where have they ever done that? Show me an example, right? Governments, oh, if you get more money, they can prevent some natural disaster from happening, right? No. Listen, we got to get back to free market fundamentals, right? In reality, it's just got to be market based. And when you talk about free markets, just people, just freedom of people to have competing models where they can choose that, hey, that one looks a whole lot better, not just for my bottom line, but for social cohesion in my community, in my country, in my particular geographical landmass, right? Let's just forget about this one-size-fits-all bullshit, this central planning narrative that we constantly hear pounded and hammered away time after time after time, day after day by these control freaks and sociopaths. Canada is by no means under any imminent threat of mass amounts of weather-related hardships or storms or earthquakes or whatever kind of bullshit they're trying to put forward to scare you into giving more of your money to these fucking central planning control freaks. Canada is nowhere near being in that scenario or that situation. Not now and not anywhere in the near future. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.